If you follow college equestrian, NCAA sports, or the future of horse sports in America, then you've probably seen the growing controversy surrounding UC Davis and its Division I equestrian team. What started as a shocking university announcement has now turned into lawsuits, allegations of financial manipulation, accusations of Title IX concerns, and a massive public backlash from riders, parents, alumni, and supporters across the horse world. And now the situation has escalated even further after supporters released an external audit challenging the university's justification for cutting the team. For many riders, this story is no longer just about one college program. It has become a symbol of a much larger fear. Is NCAA equestrian slowly disappearing? Because if a successful Division I team at one of the most respected agricultural universities in America can be downgraded despite championships, fundraising support, and public outrage, then many riders are wondering whether any collegiate equestrian program is truly safe. Today, we're breaking down the entire UC Davis equestrian controversy, the lawsuits, the external audit, the university's response, and why this fight could shape the future of collegiate horse sports in the United States. The controversy officially exploded in January 2026 when UC Davis announced that its NCAA Division I equestrian team would be transitioned from varsity status to club status beginning in the 2026-2027 academic year. At the same time, the university announced it would elevate women's stunt, an acrobatic sport derived from cheerleading, to Division I varsity status instead. Now, universities changing athletic programs is not uncommon. Sports get added, programs get cut, budgets shift. Athletic departments constantly reevaluate where money and resources go. But what shocked so many people in the equestrian world was that UC Davis Equestrian was not a struggling program. In fact, it had recently become one of the school's most successful women's teams. The program had won back-to-back conference championships in 2023 and 2024 and had competed at the NCAA National Championships. So from the perspective of athletes and supporters, this didn't look like a failing team being removed because of poor performance. It looked like a thriving team being eliminated anyway. And emotionally, that's what made this story hit so hard. So why do the riders feel blindsided? One of the biggest reasons this controversy has become so emotional is because many athletes say they committed to UC Davis believing they were joining a stable Division I NCAA program. According to lawsuits later filed by student athletes, recruits had gone through official visits, spoken with coaches, received team materials, and made major life decisions around the future of the program. Then, suddenly, the announcement arrived in the middle of the season. For many riders, there was almost no time left to pivot. And unlike football or basketball, equestrian athletes do not have endless transfer opportunities. There are only around 14 NCAA Division I equestrian programs in the entire country. On the West Coast, there were only two major Division I options, UC Davis and Fresno State. This means many student athletes suddenly found themselves with almost nowhere to go. Some athletes reportedly said transfer deadlines and recruiting windows had already passed by the time the announcement became public. And that's where the emotional side of the story becomes impossible to ignore. Because for horse people, riding is not just a hobby. These athletes spent years sacrificing their time, money, and childhoods chasing the dreams of competing at the NCAA level. Many riders grow up organizing their entire lives around horses. Early mornings before school, late nights at the barn, financial sacrifices from parents, missed vacation, years of training, years of competition. And then suddenly, some of these athletes were told the dream they committed to might disappear before they'd even the chance to fully experience it. So then came the lawsuit. In February 2026, 4 student athletes filed a federal lawsuit against UC Davis. Chancellor Gary May, Athletic Director Rocco DeLuco, and other university officials. The allegations were serious. According to the complaint, the university allegedly continued recruiting athletes and promoting the program while internally preparing to eliminate it. The lawsuit also alleged that coaching contracts had reportedly been restructured to end earlier than expected, and that some recruits were allegedly asked for verbal commitments instead of formal national letters of intent. Supporters argue these actions suggest the university may have known much earlier that the team was at risk. Now, it's important to say clearly that these allegations made in a lawsuit are allegations, not proven facts. UC Davis has denied wrongdoing and says the decision followed extensive analysis and long-term planning. But once legal action enters the picture, the public conversation changes dramatically because now the issue is no longer simply, should the team be cut? Now the issue becomes, were athletes misled? And for many people in the horse world, that question became deeply personal. So there was an external audit that intensified this controversy. Recently, supporters of the equestrian team released an external audit and public analysis challenging the financial reasoning behind the university's decision. This is the development that has reignited the controversy across social media and equestrian communities. According to supporters, parents, and outside advocates, the university's financial justifications contained inflated costs, questionable comparisons, and accounting inconsistencies. Some supporters claim discrepancies may exceed $1 million annually. The release materials also allege that certain revenue streams and fundraising contributions were not properly represented in the financial analysis. Supporters additionally questioned whether the outside consultant report referenced by the university was truly independent. Again, these are allegations and disputes raised by supporters and advocates. UC Davis maintains that its review process was thorough, deliberate, and focused on long-term sustainability, competitive alignment, finances, and gender equity obligations. But the release of the audit changed the tone of the conversation dramatically, because now critics were no longer arguing only from emotion. They were arguing over the numbers themselves. And when accusations of misleading financial data enter college athletics controversies, public trust becomes a huge issue. Another major part of this controversy involves Title IX and women's sports. Supporters argue that eliminating a successful women's equestrian team while shifting resources elsewhere raises serious concerns about gender equity. Some critics also pointed out that UC Davis originally elevated equestrian to Division I status, partly during a previous effort to address Title IX compliance concerns. Now supporters believe removing the program sends the wrong message about women's athletics. At the same time, the university argues that the decision was itself connected to broader gender equity, planning and evolving the structure of NCAA athletics. And this is where the debate becomes extremely complicated, because both sides are framing their arguments around protecting women's sports. That's one reason the situation has become so divisive inside the equestrian community. The reason this controversy has spread so widely is because many riders believe this is not just a UC Davis problem. They believe it could become a national trend. College equestrian has always existed in a somewhat fragile position. The sport is expensive. Horse care is expensive. Facilities are expensive. Travel is expensive. And unlike football or basketball, equestrian programs do not generate huge television revenue. That makes them vulnerable whenever universities reevaluate budgets and athletic priorities. Supporters fear that if UC Davis succeeds in cutting a nationally competitive program despite lawsuits, public backlash, and fundraising efforts, then other universities may feel empowered to do the same. And for the horse industry, that could have massive consequences, because collegiate equestrian is more than just a sport. It creates future trainers, future veterinarians, future horse managers, future coaches, future professionals across the equine industry. Without NCAA programs, many young riders simply lose access to elite competition entirely. One thing that keeps appearing in interviews from athletes, alumni, and parents is grief. not just frustration, not just disappointment, actual grief. Because for many riders, collegiate equestrian represents the end result of a lifetime of sacrifice. And suddenly, many athletes feel like the foundation underneath them disappeared overnight. The emotional side is why the story has resonated far beyond California. Even riders who have never been to UC Davis see themselves in these athletes. They understand the sacrifices, they understand the dedication, and they understand how fragile opportunity in horse sports can already feel. As of now, the lawsuits and public advocacy efforts are ongoing. Supporters continue pushing for reinstatement of the Division I program. Petitions continue circulating online. Parents and advocates continue challenging the university's financial reasoning. And many people throughout the horse industry are closely watching what happens next. Meanwhile, UC Davis continues to maintain that the decision was made responsibly and with long-term sustainability in mind. The university also says current athletes will continue receiving support and financial aid protections during the transition period. But regardless of how the legal battle ends, one thing is already clear. The controversy has exposed how uncertain the future of NCAA equestrian may really be. At its core, this story is not only about budgets or university policies, it's about trust. It's about student athletes who believe in a program. It's about the future of women's collegiate equestrian. And it's about whether horse sports truly have a stable place inside modern NCAA athletics. Because if nationally successful teams can disappear despite championships, public support, fundraising offers, and industry outrage, then many riders are asking the same question right now: who's next? And honestly, that question may end up becoming more important than the lawsuit itself. But I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think UC Davis made the right decision? And remember, I am not AI. If you listen closely, you can hear me breathe.